Everybody, welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer, joined on Mondays, as always, by Coach Dub and Eric. We're going to do some winter roster audits. I don't know why that was almost uh, giving me a tongue twister, but we're going to talk through the position rooms, and then we're going to talk to you guys as well. Any questions you have, throw them in the chat. We will work to them. But first, I want you to head over to Inside Texas and join for $1. New members, if you're watching the channel and subscribe over here, go subscribe over there, guys. A lot of good stuff, and Eric's holding it down with his team news winter workout stuff.
Trying to. At least the weather's starting to feel like the spring outside, huh?
Yeah, that part's nice. What did someone said? Don't believe it. It's false spring. We're gonna have a snowstorm at the end of February, but it is nice.
I'm heading to Dallas this weekend. Normally, when that happens, it gets really cold. A lot of times, I'll leave Houston and it's perfectly fine, and then Dallas is just a whole different ecosystem.
Yep,
always.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna be in Dallas. We're gonna hang out. Cool. All right. Let's start with tight end, man. I got what I wanted, which was an actual run blocking tight end. This is safety here. Let's turn. Oh, here we go. And we got Masunis, which was interesting because I thought, injuries coming back would be awesome, but he's not. So that's going to be 2 years in a row that we're going to get a tight end in the NFL. Really 3, right?
3.
Yeah, 3 years in a row. So we've been doing well there, but now we got an official blocker. So what's up with Masunis, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, you and I are on the same page here. It's one of my favorite pickups of the entire winter portal window. I think a lot of fans, he doesn't come equipped with exciting stats or exciting highlights, but he's going to help make the scheme go in ways that we haven't seen yet. Even when things have been at their best under Sark, we haven't really seen 12 personnel take off. In large part because they haven't really had a good blocking tight end. It's, Gunnar Helm kind of got there later in his career. Jatavian Sanders wasn't really a plus blocker, more of a receiver. Andrews was an underutilized quality receiver and a game blocker, but just, didn't really deliver on it. Doesn't really have the perfect size for it. Masunis and Andrews would be an awesome pairing, but obviously we got Nick Townsend. We can project a lot there. But I just love the pickup, man. Fans wonder why 12 personnel didn't work last year. Well, a lot of it had to do with the lack of run game and pass protection, but a lot of it had to do with, tight end play wasn't quite up to snuff either. So if you're looking to run it inside or outside, tight end blocking is important. And then at the same time, Mr. Masunis is a credible receiver.
Coach, what does Masunis allow? You're a tight ends guy. You like that position. What's he going to allow Sark to do?
Man, a ton of things. Like you can move this guy. I'll say you can move him around, right? So you can bring him in motion. He can slam back across the formation. You don't have to necessarily, when you run a run counter, you don't have to pull 2 offensive linemen if you don't have 2 offensive linemen who can pull. He can be your second puller, right? You can run guard, tight end, or GH counter with him. So he can do a lot of different things and mix it up. Then people get tired of banging into him. He can leak out into the flats, right? You think he's coming to slam the defensive end, then he leaks out to the flats and catches a touchdown in the red zone. So he kind of gives you more of that traditional pro style tight end look that you want, like you said, with 12 personnel and things like that. So he adds a different dynamic to the offense, and you can actually run the offense successfully because people actually believe he blocks, right? If you had a smaller tight end, like he's not blocking me, I'm not really worried about him, right? I'll just kind of ignore him. He's going into the flats or he's going to run a route. But this guy, you really got to pay attention to him because he'll actually block and drive people off the football. So I think he adds that to the offense.
Yeah, Miller Forrestall was an underrated player on those Bama offenses. Everybody wants to know, hey, when's Sark going to replicate the Bama offense? Obviously, I'm not sure if anybody's going to replicate that skill talent he had there anytime soon. But finding Miller Forrestall really helped that offense go. As unassuming, he was number 87, unassuming, but he does a lot of the dirty work. I guarantee he was appreciated in the locker room, and I know Sark appreciated him and finally found a guy that kind of fits that role. I love the pickup, man. It's going to be even next year. I don't think fans will truly appreciate it until our guys, Paul and Ian, on the deep dive are pointing it out. But that guy's really going to help to make the offense go.
And he can be in line and just straight up base block, right? Like that part matters too. Like Sark loves all the movement and all of that, but he can also just extend the surface and block a defensive end, which we saw on tape. That's huge. Now, not some crazy athlete. He's not very fast, but he can absolutely sit down for 5 yards and show his hands pretty easily too. So there's those little get out of jail free cards that he can give you too that I think is important. And so that's going to be a big factor. And then next we have another inline tight end, Spencer Shannon here. And he's been on a longer curve. Man, I was frustrated with him earlier in the season. And Ian's taken a special liking to him for whatever reason. He's always talking about Shannon's development. And towards the end of the season, Ian would be like, he looked pretty good. I'd be like, whatever, Ian, and then I would go and watch the tape, and he actually did improve. He had a good game versus Michigan. So that's also a big factor too. You can go true, like legit 12, like not receiving threats 12 as well, and try to play bully ball with these two if Shannon continues on that growth curve, Eric.
I like Shannon. I'm with Ian on it. And obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. That's why I liken him to Christian Jones here, obviously a different position, but sort of a similar, longer developmental curve. And a lot of it has to do with just needing the time to develop strength. They're taller, longer guys. You got to get stronger over time to control those limbs. I think he's rounding into form. I think he's going to be one of the greatest beneficiaries of the shift in strength and conditioning mindset to get stronger. I think just the tight ends lifting with the bigs now, whether they were lifting with the middles before, now they're lifting with the offensive line, the D line,
cool.
And the edges. I think that's going to help them. I'm not going to say I'm excited about Spencer Shannon, as because it's not like he's going to go have that breakout that ESPN tried to force on us last offseason. But I think he can become a quality player, and especially within this role that I have a great appreciation for as that inline tight end. He's not going to beat out Masunis, but he's going to learn a lot from Masunis, and I really think that Spencer Shannon's going to be a quality starter in 2027. I could be wrong, but I like it. Now for this next season, I like him as depth, but he just needs to keep grinding, keep getting in that squat rack, and it's going to pay dividends long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Shannon, for me, look, when he came in high school, I thought he was going to be a guy that kind of grew into a tackle. I didn't know how much weight he was going to put on, but you love his frame, like 6'7". Like you can't go find it just everywhere on the street, right? Big kid like that. But if he truly buys into, I'm an inline blocker. That's who I am. I'm not going to be Gronkowski. I'm not going to be run down the seam, catch a ton of passes. Like, I'm an inline blocker. I'm going to dominate people. If he buys into that fully in the offseason, I think you get something his final season at Texas.
Yeah. Will Randall, man, been having a good it's been a sweet run for old Randall, huh? So do we think he's going to have a shot, or really he's just does his work in practice and then he's at the frat house hanging out, getting reps in there too, right?
Well, I thought, I thought he might transfer to Tulane. His brother just signed with Tulane. Yeah, we started hearing some good things about him during bowl practices. He can be quality depth. He's just not going to beat out, Nick Townsend or Emery Winston for that role. But I'm glad that they do have that depth. They got 3 guys at each position, even though, Jalik is young. We'll get to that in a minute. But at least they've got depth. And, I don't think they really kept him around because, Arch needs any friends. Arch has plenty of friends. I think they do see that there's some value added with Will, and like I said, depth. And he was, we were hearing a little bit about him during bowl practices. So, yeah, we'll see.
I mean, he did a lot at Newman. He was like playing edge, receiving tight end. He did.
I like this high school tape, man.
Yeah. So I think Will Randall will be excess depth. I'm not sure he will be quality depth. Who knows? Sometimes guys play a role in practice that like you won't see, but they have value in practice, maybe not necessarily on the field. So that's what we got to figure out. But let's keep moving. I think this guy will play. Nick Townsend. I have Lance Jackson. Eric has Nick Townsend. This is his road dog. So please tell us about Nick.
Well, I'll never have a personal favorite that doesn't check the boxes on the mental side of it, and that's where what really to me sets Nick apart from. First of all, he's a unicorn just from his size, strength, and speed. Running 10.900, 235 pounds. So he's a unicorn in that regard, but he's got the mindset that really maximize it and take it to the next level. Now he does need a very big offseason because this will be his first spring. He was a late enrollee as a freshman, and that kind of slowed down his development, particularly as a receiver, but also as a blocker. I'll never forget his first snap at Texas. He comes screaming across the formation and just lights into a guy. But half the time he didn't know he was supposed to pick up. He was just taking the first guy he sees or, just launching into people. I don't think he had a full understanding of what he was doing. Now, over time, he got better as a blocker with his understanding, but we didn't really see much of him as a receiver. For him to really take off and become, first, second round draft pick, they're going to have to get him involved, and they're going to have to get him involved this year if they really want to make 12 personnel dynamic. So becoming a receiver isn't just about running and catching the ball. You've got to be on the same page with the quarterback. There's a lot of benefits for that tight end that just knows where to be in zone. there's a lot of very average athletes in the NFL that make a killing at tight end because they're smart route runners, or they're savvy and they're tough and they've got good hands. He's got the toughness. I think he's got good hands, maybe not great hands, but good hands. But just has to become more comfortable as a receiver. That's really going to take 12 personnel to the next level. And somebody's going to have to do some of the receiving dirty work over the middle. That
Right.
Mosley can do it. We think Dalen McCutcheon has the toughness to do it, but when you have a tight end that can do that as well, you see these guys that are built like him. Tacklers just sort of bounce off of them. You pick up a lot of extra yards with a guy like Nick. He's going to be big, physical, and fast. They just got to fully integrate him in the offense, and I think he's going to get there because he's got the want to. He's all football all the time.
And you see, Sark schemes the position, but what was the trick play? Was that versus A&M on the goal
It
line?
was end around.
Oh, yeah, that was the best call of the year.
Yeah. So it's like he can do stuff like that because, like you said, he's incredibly fast for a tight end. We're searching for who's lining up in the slot type of guy, right? Because Nick Townsend is going to have all the slice motions and all of that, hit guys. And look, if you're a freshman and you're missing assignments, what pops on tape is you're hitting guys.
Yeah.
And that mindset was big. But searching for that true receiving option, not getting injuries back, is going to be a key thing to watch. But yeah, Townsend, he's already a fan favorite. All right, Winston, this might be the option, right? So, Coach, what do you think here as the find the zone guy?
Look, this is baby Antonio Gates. I keep saying it. First time I laid eyes on him at 7-on-7 camp, like he's just so silky. He's smooth for a bigger guy. That's kind of rounded out, but man, he got soft hands. Finds the hole in the zone, like he'll catch it and go, but he'll block. Like look at most of his high school tape, he's inline blocking. But then he'll leak out, in a flood route or a flood concept or bootleg, things like that. Like he played real tight end in high school, so he's used to inline blocking, which is why I like Winston. But he'll mix it up. He has the size, but when you put him out in the route, he can route some guys up for a bigger tight end, right? And so he can use his body to position himself well, kind of post up like he's playing basketball, and show his numbers to the quarterback, and he'll catch most of his football. So I like Winston a lot. I think he's like a really, really true tight end, and what you're kind of looking for if you want an all-around guy who can just kind of do it all. He's not going to run by you with blazing speed, but man, he's just going to find a way to get open. When he gets open, he's going to catch it every single time. So I like Winston a lot, man.
He's not a real tall kid, and I think that helps us change of direction. He does have really good change of direction, and as Coach mentioned, his hands. He's got the best hands at tight end, and maybe some of the best hands on the team. Put him up there with Cam and Khalik probably. He catches away from his body. His hands look gigantic. Maybe it was the white gloves that he would wear on huddle, but his hands look massive. I like him as a player. I think he's also somebody that you could scheme in the ways that OU would frustrate Texas fans with back in the day, whether it was Stoops or Riley there, leaking a guy like Dimitri Flowers out in the flat when nobody's got him accounted for. He can be an H-back. He can be a tight end. You can go to 13 personnel with him near the goal line. There's a lot of things you can do. Another one of those guys, when he committed, I said, this is a scheme book, a scheme advantage player here. He's going to add a page to the playbook for Sark. I think he's going to really help around the goal line. But again, like Nick, he needs a good offseason, got to get stronger and all that, all that young guy stuff. But they love him. Remember, he had a really good offseason last year. He had an unfortunate timing of an injury getting sidelined in August. That's kind of where Nick stepped up. So those two are going to compete, but they can also coexist out there together as well.
David Keith Williams asked, Eric, what is your view of Nick Townsend's physique? It looked as though he was carrying about 10 pounds of fat. I think he needs to redefine his body and do some CrossFit. Eric, what are your thoughts on CrossFit as well, brother?
He's still loving CrossFit. Is they'll teach you the exact way to do a wrong pull-up. The last time I saw Nick, and it was in December of his senior year, and I was with some Texas fans, and he was only like 225 at the time, and people were like, man, he needs to add weight. So I don't think he got to the point where he was 10 pounds overweight, and then especially after a year when he ran track. So I saw him in December. He runs track all spring. Mm-hmm. I did hear that he got up to like 235 in August because Nick can just add and lose weight super fast. He's got crazy genes. I don't think he needs to lose any weight. Maybe reshape a little bit, just keep maturing physically. That's again, tight end room with the bigs this off season. I think is going to be great for his physical development.
Yeah, I don't want him to lose weight. I want him to. Yeah, I want him to.
Nick is a guy that should play 6'3.5", 245, and that's I don't want to throw I don't think he's as loose in his hips as Kittle. But I think he's got the mindset. Kittle is a great blocker, but Kittle can come across formation and do H-back stuff, but also do real tight end things. I think that's where Nick is going, but you don't need him to be over 245 because he's got the power and the physicality. A lot of those guys are compensating for lack of power with size. Nick doesn't have to do that, and you still want him to be lean and mean and run the seams at 245, and maybe then he's running 11-second 100, but it's still a lot of physics in his favor.
Yeah. And then we got the freshman, man. Have we heard much about him yet?
No, I haven't heard a word. I haven't really. Charlie Jolick information isn't exactly paying the subs. I don't have a lot of people beating down the. But again, I love the addition for the same reason we talked about Masunis, and it comes from the same. Well, Masunis is actually from Arizona, but played up there in Big Ten country. Jolick is from Big Ten country. Physicality on tape. You're hoping that he becomes that inline guy that's also a credible receiver. Now, he had some interesting defensive film where you could see some twitch that I don't think always showed up on his offensive film. So, I think we both liked this Connor when he popped on the radar, sort of popped out of nowhere. We looked at the tape and like, okay, this is what they need because it's just having an understanding of what 12 personnel requires, and I think Jolick brings that. But also, true freshman, stash and develop, and I'll monitor his development, but I don't expect anything for 2026.
Yeah, somehow I've become like a tight end guy on the board. As soon as a tight end commits, people like tag me. I guess because I just complained about it so much for 5 years, and I'm always. But he was one that I was excited for.
Well, he's a scheme intensifier. Those guys can intensify the scheme, and you're a scheme guy. So, what makes scheme go? You can have all the beautiful play design on the whiteboard, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the actual Joes to pull it off.
Yeah. Right. So in closing, we have here, let's see, if those two have big off seasons, the room will have a pretty high ceiling from a receiving standpoint. Good news, both are maximizers prone to taking advantage of their opportunities. Talking about Townsend and Winston as well there. So, yeah, I think we're schematically there. I think you can play two true 12 personnel. Sark has always played I don't have a better word, fake 12 personnel where it's like we're trying to pass, right? That's the whole point. But you have the ability to go either two true tight ends to block, one true tight end and one receiver, or you can sneak both of them as receiver. You have the whole range here, and we saw it last year. I mean, the whole first half of the season, Sark was trying to force 12 personnel and didn't have the guys for it. Now he can, if he doesn't want to force the scheme, he should have the guys for it. And I think that makes an absolutely huge difference going forward. And David Keith Williams says, I really hope Coach Banks can maximize Nick Townsend. His potential is limitless if he just goes all out to being the best tight end he can be, both receiving and blocking.
Well, that's where, Nick is a self-starter. Can't put that out there enough. Like a Joseph Osai sort of dude that doesn't really need the motivating or anything that some of those coaches are doing. Now it's just going to be, can Banks teach him the technique? There's a lot of technique going with blocking, hand placement, body position, all that. But Nick is going to be an easy ball of clay to mold, man. This isn't like trying to get Jatavian. And I love Jatavian. I'm not trying to talk. This isn't like trying to get Jatavian Sanders to block for you. All right. You don't have to. There's no motivating involved. Nick is a self-starter. Now it's just teaching him the technique. So I'm really excited for Townsend this year. I wish, just because the season is so important, I wish that maybe he was a little more further along in his development. But I think he's going to catch up pretty quick.
Where did Jordan Washington end up?
He ended up in a pretty good spot.
Can't remember.
Did he go to Kentucky too? I can't remember. Good Lord.
Yeah, I think it might have been Kentucky. It's SEC though. Okay, I was thinking South Carolina, but that was Christian Clark. Yeah, he ended up in a good spot.
Anyway, I wasn't trying to stump you guys. I was just going to say what was really funny whenever we get those clips during practices or whatever. I remember just watching Jordan Washington, them trying to turn him into a blocker. And just in my head, I was like, oh no, like it's never going to happen. And I think when you have the locked in factor of like Nick Townsend, right, and the self-starter, he's a guy that can accelerate that curve significantly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they kind of wanted Washington to be something that he wasn't, put too much weight on him. I don't know. Whatever North Carolina. Okay.
North Carolina.
Whoever's decision it was to put on more weight, whether it was Jordan's to put it on that way or the strength and conditioning staff or coaches, that it was a bad decision. That you took away what his strength was and didn't really improve the weakness. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what Belichick does with him now. All right, Belichick's going to look at that guy, look at his high school tape, and have a clear plan.
Yeah. I mean, he has the athleticism, but I remember just watching those blocking reps being like, this is a 4-year process, if that. All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear a word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
All righty. Let's talk safeties. So he did kind of tight end, right, which is an underrated scheme multiplier. Not always the sexiest position. And I think the same kind of goes for safety. My favorite positions are tight end on the offense and safety on the defense because I think they're so important. And especially if you get intelligent guys doing it as well, not just athletes, but it's a reps position, as Ian always says. Eric alludes to how much experience matters here too. So this room I thought was a big save because Williams leaves due to issues with Akina. That sucks. And then Jelani goes pro. That sucks. They made some good retentions here, and then getting Gideon back, of course, too, man. One of the best off-season jobs were done in this room, and it should have a really big impact. Just globally, Eric, first things first, what do you think?
Well, 4 guys returned, and all for different reasons. Muschamp, throw him in there as well. He returned. Gideon for a different reason. Derek Williams for his own, and then Jelani McDonald playing the long game on NFL development. That's really the story at the position. There's plenty of depth to talk about, but I really, I love this room. They had a bit of a drop off last year. Unfortunate for Michael Taff. It wasn't really his fault. And I think it's ready for a rebound. I think they're going to be really damn good. Maybe not the ball production that they had in 2024 because Andrew Makuba was like having a wide receiver out there. But I think they're going to be extremely good covering ground on the ground, maybe not ball hawking necessarily, but covering space on the ground, sideline to sideline and deep. I really like their range.
Yeah. And it showed you even with Taff, right? All-American to having struggles. Like he had a little run at the end that was just not good football, but it shows you how interdependent that secondary is, how important the scheme is with it, how important the coaches teaching the scheme are. Because you can have one guy, like I said, All-American one year, and then next year, like, what's going on? That's coaching and scheme. And
I think what I say, if you scroll back where you were, what I say at the very top right there is they're going from Muschamp, who is DB forward, from PK, who was DL forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge advantage I think it's a huge advantage for the whole defense because the D lines kind of do its own thing anyways. They're studs. Yeah. I think it's going to make a big difference for this group. So new lease on life, and then getting Gideon back. Gideon coaches every bit as hard as Akina, but it's how do you relate to the players? Right. What you get away with. Akina can coach them very hard, and they still know that he has their best interest. So I think it's
Gideon.
I have very high expectations for Gideon's return in year 1.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. They'll take hard coaching if they think you care about them, or you can do the Brian Kelly method where you're just considered mean, right? And there's no value to that. So yeah, you need both. And Gideon is an old school coach. I would tell you about watching his clinics, and it sounded like he was, coaching from the 80s.
Hey man, Dad's a coach, grew up around it, man.
I was gonna say he's from the old school, right? Like he's classically trained, I guess you could say.
There's a famous picture of him that makes it around. Somebody took a picture of him in the restaurant, and he's just staring.
Just mugging someone. Yeah. He just looks angry.
Oh man.
Yeah, he has that. And then just getting him back from Georgia Tech, man, like that's pretty wild, from defensive coordinator. And then you said Muschamp he recommended Gideon initially, right, to Sark?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's cool. Getting those guys back is going to be awesome. All right, Jelani McDonald, incredible athlete. I think the clip that sticks out in everyone's mind, well, there's actually a couple with Jelani. One of his interceptions where he dove 2 years ago was crazy, but then was it Sam Houston State where he went up and met God? And that kind of stuff. If you're an NFL scout, I could just show you that clip and you'd be like, okay, I think we'll take him. The big thing is just getting him more sound in the scheme and natural development. I do worry a little bit about pure coverage. Now, luckily with Pack and Ian, we've been showing you all these examples of ways that we can stop safeties from getting one-on-one with slot receivers because I don't know how much of pure man coverage we can do. So we can solve that with scheme. And normally if we retain the normal coaching staff, I would have been worried about this room in that regard. But Muschamp scheme. I think their natural coaching. I think Derek being a year older and Jelani, I think this is the natural progression, and then they'll get better there. And of course, Eric said the pure athleticism. Jelani would just like fire through the B gap and destroy the run. Like these guys are special there. And with the scheme connections, I'm excited to watch this room. But first thoughts on Jelani, guys, either one.
Look, I think this will elevate him even more playing in the scheme, right? Because I think he does have the versatility and ability to actually get in some man coverage and show that he can do that, and not just be a field safety or playing zone where he's covering grass like he's been known to do in the past defense. So I think this will elevate him and raise his draft stock even more playing in this system, because he'll be able to show versatility that he can do more. He can cover in man-to-man situations. He still can play zone. He'll come up and hit you and make the off the schedule plays, right? He's one of those guys, man, just like he wasn't even supposed to be over there, but he went up and he went and made a play. Like he has that kind of athletic ability. And so I think this defense is going to elevate him even more and be a first rounder.
Yeah. Experience goes a long way. It's going to help him download this defense a lot quicker. Same goes for Williams. Being fourth-year players, you love that at safety. It's you could take a very average athlete at safety, but give him experience, and he's going to play a lot faster. And I think he's going to play fast on top of being fast. I'm really excited about it. And I think the playmaking is there, obviously. The tackling is there, obviously. The size, the want-to is there. He's not one that was bothered by Akina, which I think says something about him too. He's like, just whatever, man. He didn't. I think that says a lot about how he's wired. You just want to see a little more consistency, maybe a little bit more of that. I think Taft leaving is going to be good for him as far as him being the leader in that room. You don't really have to be as vocal now. He does. Somebody's going to have to communicate back there. He can play any safety spot. We already know he can play big nickel if they need it. Won't happen this year, but he could do it. I love him. I love Jelani as a player, and I think he's going to have a very big year. And I hope he does too, to reward that decision in coming back.
He was diplomatic. What's the show with all the former players? Is it Fourth and Longhorn, where they do the interview, or Third and Longhorn, or something like? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. They do a great job over there. But they did an interview with Jelani, and they were asking him basically about Akina. He was very diplomatic, of just like, yeah, he's a hard coaching guy, and it was funny to watch him. And like I said, he's always been awesome on the mic. I always give my example. I won't give it again, but even from high school, this kid has been dynamic and somebody that you wanted to be a leader. Former players have said when he came in, they knew that he was going to be a guy. He had confidence early, all that stuff. I think exactly what you want is Johnny McDonald. And then as far as man coverage, we'll have to see. You're right. I think that's a good point. And
remember in the All-American game, they had him playing corner.
Well, I was going to say there was arguments when he first got here. It's like, can he be a corner, which is pretty wild too. So it's like, I think he can do it. Maybe I'm saying I'd be worried about it because of the last scheme. So I won't say he can't do it, because truly I don't know.
I remember when they recruited him, they thought he was going to be a linebacker. He came in with Anthony Hill.
He was going to be a linebacker, corner, safety.
Yeah, so look at all these, and he played everything in high school, so it kind of aligns with that whole athletes makes the NFL at a higher clip.
Yeah.
But if they bring him in as a linebacker, you already know that he has a mindset. His dad played linebacker in college, so he kind of brings that linebacker leadership, toughness, know-how, which a lot of that carries over to safety. And then you've got the coverage skills that had some people thinking maybe corner, which I'd never thought corner or even really nickel. But the safety is the perfect position for him. Size, speed, and all that. That's where he's meant to be.
Derek Williams returns. Man, so much promise. Him that OU game, and then before he got hurt, the Raptor dude. I think Eric says here, we don't know if he'll ever return to that level of athleticism. Here's the good part about safety. You don't have to be. Your experience can make up for it.
Right.
It's one of the few positions that can happen really easily. Like linebacker can take experience. You're not purely one-on-one with guys. So even if you do drop off a little bit athletically, which is hard to come back from those injuries.
Yeah, I'm not discounting that, though. I mean, Jermod McCoy from Tennessee missed the whole season with the ACL. He's still going in the first round this year, which means the NFL fully expects him to have all his athleticism back. Derek was knocking off the rust during the summer, and we heard that he was still a little not back to himself in August and September. But the athleticism was returning in the practice field, and we reported that. So I think he's on a good trend line still, and I think that we're going to hear good things about him in the spring. I think that he and Jelani, either of them can play either safety role, which is great. but I really like Derek hanging around the box and erasing stuff with his speed that I think is going to be maybe not what we saw. I mean, he was a lightning bolt across the field before that injury, so I'm not saying he's going to be right back to that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're ever going to go, oh man, he lost a step. I'm excited about him. Glad he's back in the program. It was a tough thing to report on. You didn't want to really talk about locker room issues. But it wasn't. He wasn't playing because he lost it or it wasn't good enough. I think a case could have been made that he was probably better than Filsaime. Akina just really likes the Filsaime speed, and that's what he went with. Maybe Filsaime, wasn't quite as headstrong. But Derek, I fully expect Derek to start, and Texas obviously wanted him back too, because it wasn't just like, hey, we changed coaches, you want to come back. They had to work on him to get him back. There had to be a little NIL. So it was they truly see the player that we all saw before injury.
You say it here. It's not that Williams didn't like being coached hard. There was just some personality conflict or something, right?
Yeah, you can coach Derek hard. I mean, obviously he liked Gideon. Gideon was coached him for 2 years. Right. So
yeah, he come from Edna Carr. Trust me, they're coached hard in high school. He's used to it.
Yeah. Sometimes there's just that weird thing where you just don't – you and another person just do not blend for whatever reason. Filsaime, athletic. Now, I can't really grade it. He struggled last year, like in knowing what to do on the All-22, and it was just a lot. But I think that was coaching, and we kept harping on it in deep dives with Paul and Ian. I think when the coaching changes and the expectations are clear and they're calling schemes that make sense and are not giving the offense free access whenever they want, I think you can see that jump there, because we know, like you mentioned, he has the speed. Right?
He was also hurt. He got hurt pretty early in the season, missed some time with the shoulder. I mean, golly, dude, there's not a worse position to play with a hurt shoulder than safety, I don't think. Yep. And so that has to factor for some. He missed that tackle on the goal line against Vanderbilt. That could have been directly tied to his shoulder. He just had surgery. Hopefully he can participate a lot during spring, because, he needs it. There's, like I said in this article, I think he played a year before he was ready. And that can look bad at times, especially at a position where, the camera focuses on you. You might be the only guy in the frame. A lot of times it's pretty obvious who messed up. It's not as obvious on the offensive line unless we're breaking it down. So yeah, he definitely had his struggles, but I mean, nobody's given up on him. He's got the speed. I think he's got the want to. He was a little raw coming out of high school. Remember, He was late safety in high school. So he was always a bit of a project. There's a reason Texas didn't offer him until a little bit later in his high school career, despite the rankings having him extremely high. Rankers, we see, oh, he's got speed, let's rank him high. Well, there's just so much more that goes into safety. Right now, he's working on that stuff. That's so much more that goes into playing safety. And hopefully he plays a valuable depth role, and then he's right back to starting in 2027 and he balls out.
Was he out of McKinney?
Yep, McKinney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, Jordan Johnson-Rubel. This is a player that I think is interesting. They always make fun of me in the chat for saying interesting and not saying interesting correctly, but whatever. What's going on here? Because I would have thought he had more of an impact. I mean, you hear all the kind of classic safety tropes about this guy. So what's going on, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's, Akina likes his speed, and Filsaime's obviously faster than Jordan Johnson-Rubel. I think he probably should have played more last year. When we did see him, he looked good. He had one game where he played a decent amount of role. It was non-con, and he made a handful of plays. But not on top of that, he looked like he had some twitch to him too. So I'm surprised he didn't play more. But then you've got, I think Akina had a bias towards Filsaime's speed. He's a reliable special teamer. They wanted him back for that reason, I think, first and foremost, but also depth and then the versatility to move him around. I'm not saying he's like Ryan Niblett, in which but they are. It seemed like they were trying to find ways to get him on the field. I like him as a potential nickel, because I have my concerns about them playing force from the nickel spot when they're in that mint front. So I wonder if he gets a look there. He also got some looks in dime at linebacker. I don't know if we saw that on the field much, but I know they worked it in practice. So, he's just a really good, you could call him a glue guy or depth or whatever. I wish that he would have redshirted. He's a junior. He's in the same class as Filsaime, right? So, we'll see. I think he should compete at safety. but obviously, he's not going to start. But there's valuable depth there. The special teams, I think he made some key blocks last year. He's just a good all-around program guy, and then smart and tough. So I think Muschamp's going to like that about him.
Yeah. Hey, when I look at JJR, I think most people look at him and maybe doesn't have the prototypical size or whatever the case, but he just does everything right. You want to play the guy that looks the taller, leaner, stronger, faster guy, but like Jordan Rebel, like he makes plays when he's on the field, right? So you may have to say, you know what, I don't care what your height, weight, and any of that.
Yeah, these aren't corners, man. These aren't corners.
So, and I think Muschamp doesn't care either. Like he just wants ballers on the field who does things consistently the right way. So I don't think he won't buy into much of the higher ceiling as far as height and all that. You want a ball on the field who can just make plays and do what you need to do on defense. I think that's what he provides, but you just kind of got to overlook the other things, right? The attributes of others, because you see there, like a Keenan play feels because he's big, strong, and fast, right? Like everybody wants to play the athlete who's fast, even if they're ranked 70 overall. Like it's like recruiting in the video game. You want to play the fastest guy, even though he doesn't have the awareness and everything to go along with it, just because he has all the other attributes. And so this is just like a player who can, like Eric said, he's a glue guy, but he does everything right. He can play multiple positions. If he gets on the field, he's gonna be hard to take off. I feel like he can make plays.
Well, you had that. I mean, you saw it with Taft, and of course, Gideon's going to understand that dynamic, right? As his playing career. Yeah. It's like Taft didn't have all the measurable. I mean, we'll see with the NFL draft, but it's like, you go with the player that it's a safety. You don't need corner traits.
Yeah, I think JJR has some of those field general qualities. That's what I said going back to his time at IMG. He can be the guy that gets everybody on the same page. Sometimes that's used as like a backhanded compliment, but I don't mean it that way at all. Taft had it, Gideon had it. It's important. You need it back there. Somebody has to be, it's like the center on the offensive line. Somebody has to be back there calling it, seeing it, getting guys lined up, and then those guys have to be physical and tough too.
Yeah. Jonah Williams, another fan favorite.
Oh, my
dialogue with baseball. It continues, man.
He's one of my favorites too, but I'm also content with just letting his athletic career play out in the way he sees fit. That's what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for him to play baseball for 5 minutes and then just.
I mean, we secretly did. I mean, in our heart of hearts, that's what we were hoping.
Might have wanted him to do it. It certainly wasn't going to happen after he hit the baseball field first and batted 330 as a true freshman and was out there acting like a cornerback on the base path.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't.
The baseball fans loved it, and I was like, "Oh no, he's becoming a baseball fan favorite now too."
Yeah, right. And so we're just gonna have to let it play out. Yeah, and then also Schlossnagle said, in this preseason press conference, we might have to put him in a timeshare. And now I've got people asking me if he's going to play in the spring game the same day they have a baseball game. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the timeshare has more to do with classroom, whiteboard work, maybe going out to practice and observing. I don't think he's going to be out there actually practicing. So I will say it slows down his development a little bit. We can't talk about the importance of development and time, experience at safety, and then downplay it here. It does slow it down a little bit, but he's also a natural. He doesn't need as much reps as everybody else. He sees the game at a high level, and then he's a freak athlete, and so it does slow him down. But if he doesn't play a fundamental role this season on the football field, it doesn't mean that he's not going to be in the NFL for 10 years if he doesn't want to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the move is baseball, man. The money in baseball is crazy.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I think that's terrible.
It's
the floor in baseball is so much lower. I don't care how good you are.
The floor is for sure. Yeah, you're guaranteed money but man, if you're good at baseball, dude.
But the ceiling, his ceiling and his floor in football to me, and this might sound crazy to everybody, but I don't care. His floor in football to me is like $50 million contracts. So yeah, that's a very high ceiling for most humans. I would jump all over that.
But he's one of the rare ones that might have a higher financial ceiling than 50. But my knowledge of baseball is severely lacking. I'd have to listen to them on what they think.
His brother went in the second round, and his brother's down there playing in Mexico right now. All right, so
dude, it is tough. You're right. There's no guarantee. I had a lot of friends that went pro in baseball, and that's a really brutal path. And having to work up through the ranks is tough. You get drafted as an early round in the NFL, they're going to try everything they can to get you starting. Yeah, you're right. But
you can go be Kyle Hamilton and you're set for life. Your kids are set for life. Your neighbors are set for life if you like your neighbors. I mean, it just doesn't matter. There's way more money than he'll ever need in football. And then if you go to baseball, he can go play for the Dodgers, but then he's not going to get paid for the 50 years, the way they defer contracts. So I think, to me, the smart move is football, because he's that good at it, and the floor is so high while the ceiling is still way more than most people ever need.
Yeah, I just want him to get somewhat close to his college ceiling, which I don't know if you will with baseball. But all the traits whenever he steps on the field, you're like, who the hell is that? It doesn't even make sense for how big he is.
Man. Different.
He's hanging around the line, and it's just like he looks like a linebacker, dude. It's pretty remarkable.
I'm not calling him prime time, but hey, if DM was able to do it at Florida State, why can't Jonah, right? You know what I'm saying? Focus on football, but be a pinch hitter or pinch player for baseball, man. I mean, I think he's talented enough to do it. He's really rare when it comes to that.
It's just tough at safety, man. Like you really got to be there in the
cornerback's a lot different than safety, especially when you don't tackle.
Yeah. So it's just, that's what gets me is his position, because I just have so much respect for what a good safety can do and what it takes to be a good safety. All right, Zealous Hicks. That was a fun grab, but we were like, well, he reclassed. What's going on there? So,
yeah, just a young guy who spent last year mostly on scout team, and just time to develop. He's got a lot of guys in front of him. He signed up to a program that he knew that was the case going in, and then when you reclassify, it can slow down your expectations, or at least it should. But he was a top 50 guy for that 2026 class. I'm getting him confused now because of the reclassification. He was initially, for his original class, he's a top 50 guy in the nation. He's long. He looks like a lot of these other guys. He's long, lean, athletic, and all that. We'll learn a lot more about him in spring ball. We'll see what he learned on scout team. But again, you've got Jelani, you've got Derek Williams, you've got Phil Simi, Jonah, if he's fully involved and all that. So, I mean, it's my expectations for 2026 are not that high, but man, it's going to get wide open in 2027, and that's right when we probably should start having expectations for Hicks.
How is Texas going to utilize all of their talented safeties? McDonald, Williams, Phil Simi, Williams, again, Jordan Johnson-Rebel, and Zealous Hicks can all be difference makers. I mean,
well, not this year. I don't think. Jonah Williams, Jordan Johnson-Rebel, Zealous Hicks, and Phil Simi, I don't think are going to be difference makers this year. I think Jelani and Derek Williams both can. And then you're looking for really good depth. That doesn't mean those guys can't make plays when the number's called. But I just think it's a pretty clear hierarchy at the top. And then depth, that plays out through competition. I could see Jordan Johnson-Rebel backing up Derek Williams at that boundary safety, and I could see Phil Simi backing up Jelani McDonald, with competition from Jonah Williams at the other safety. And then Zealous Hicks, again, I just think is a year away. So, I think people are like, okay, they're all at the same stage of development now because they're all in the same room. That's just not the case. Jelani and Derek, it's their time. Phil Simi's going to probably make a pretty big bounce after Phil Simi's going to have a lot of value in that season he had last year. I guarantee that when he's got some downtime, he's thinking about some plays he could have done differently. He's going to learn a lot. He can make a big jump in the spring if he's healthy. But I don't think that they have a ton of difference makers. I think they've got two difference makers and then a bunch of guys competing to be key rotational guys or developmental pieces. But here's the thing: Akina did not like to rotate nearly as much as Gideon did the year prior. So I think we're going to see a much deeper rotation than we saw this past year, back to what we saw in previous years, where hell, even Keaton Crawford was out there playing a lot. They were 4 deep at safety in years prior. So I think they'll be back to 4 deep again, but I don't think beyond the first two, I wouldn't call them difference makers.
Yeah, I was just about to ask one what the rotation would be like now that Muschamp is back, but Gideon is back, because like you said, Akina really you couldn't get on the field, he wouldn't rotate as much, so guys would be gassed out there. It's like, well, sorry, stick out there and play. It's like, no, you need to. That's what you got depth for, right? And so I was about to ask about the rotation if it's going to be different.
I think it'll go back to what it was. They've obviously got the pieces to do it. But yeah, and it also, Jordan Johnson-Rebel in boundary makes a lot of sense for what they want to do. And then Phil Simi, ranging out there in the field makes a lot of sense too. I do think we're going to see a deeper rotation than we saw last year. You kind of have to, man. What's the point of having all those guys if you're not developing? I mean, it only helps you in real time. It helps you within games. It helps you within the long season. And then it helps you the following year when those guys aren't playing catch up.
And they need game reps. Practice is great. You can try as much as you want. It's not the game. And so they need game reps. And most DCs let their coaches determine that rotation. Now if a coach is on D-line not rotating, then the DC will step in. But
Right.
I think getting Gideon back will increase that. Plus, man, I mean, these are all Gideon guys, right? Up top. JJR, Phil Simi, Derek, Jelani, right? These are all originally his people.
Yep.
So
Gideon's guys.
he likes them. That he likes to fit. So it's like it's not even that awkward thing of like I don't know you and you're not a scheme fit for what I'm doing. All right.
Correct.
Before we keep going, let's hear a word from our man, Andre the Lawyer. Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description. All right. I think if Jonah Williams can get completely healthy and remain healthy, he will be all SEC in baseball and football. I think he will ultimately take over in right field and move Anthony Pack to left field by SEC play. If I knew baseball, man, I would totally agree with you. We're gonna have a nice baseball show coming up too with Nash and Evan, so maybe they'll talk about that. And this is a good. Don't be nice to insurance carriers; they hate you. Sugar Poppy also injury law, right, man?
I'm with them on that. Yeah, insurance adjusters are the worst. I had to, spend a good chunk of last year dealing with insurance adjusters. No, thank you.
Yeah. Whatever happened with your truck, dude? It just got.
Oh yeah, that was another one. Yeah, so 2 years ago, my truck got stolen. I went down to go watch Fort Bend Marshall practice, and then stopped in to hang out with some friends. Got stolen in Katy, of all places. My wife
just gone, right? You never found it, right?
And the cops didn't care at all. They didn't even come to the scene. They don't care, man. They don't give a damn. The insurance guy then calls me up, and he is grilling me like I had it stolen, like I was upside down so much on it, and I got it. So they're basically accusing me. The cops won't come and check on it. Yeah, it's a total train wreck. And then I had some. Some runners mess up a house, and I spent with 6 months dealing with that. So yeah,
your truck is in the mountains of Sinaloa by now, dude.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much drugs that thing is channeled into. And it would be a good truck for. I love that truck, man.
I was gonna say though, whenever those big nice trucks get taken, dude, it's almost always heading right to Mexico.
Yeah, and the cops, they just did not.
You handled it pretty well. I remember you telling me, you're like, yeah, I got stolen. I was like, you're being rather calm about this. You're like,
oh, it's replaceable. The worst part about it is you feel personally violated. Like, come take it when I'm driving it. Don't take it when I'm not there, you punk.
Yeah, especially if you got like your laptop in the car or whatever, too, just whatever's in there that they take. But ugh. All right, Eric, I hope Zealous Hick remains at Texas. Hicks was old enough as a junior to be a senior, but I think it would have benefited him not to reclass and remain in the 2026 recruiting class. There was a little bit of a rush of reclasses. Like it got a little trendy in that period too. You remember that, where it's like guys started doing it more often.
Well, yeah, Richard Wesley did it, and I'm like, oh gosh, man, who wants a high-ranking player that you're going to have to sit for a year, and then you watch the tape, you're like, okay, I don't care if that kid's 14 years old, let's get him.
The best one was Richard Wesley, because you're like, what is an edge doing reclassifying? And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what Richard Wesley.
Yeah, we're all good. All right, Torrey Davis, freshman.
Oh man.
Added him too. All right, Coach, you go first then. If you got the
Hey, this is the sleeper in the room. Look, this kid, I mean, you watch his tape, he can kind of do it all. I know he played, I don't know what district or division he played in Colorado, but you see him at receiver, so he has ball skills. He can run routes. He has speed. You see him play safety, nickel, corner. Like, he lines up everywhere and can play. I think he's really, really athletic. Comes from a football family. Dad played college football. Like, he knows the game and studies. But this is going to be a guy that surprises a lot of people that you're probably not really talking about, not really expecting. But you're going to hear about him in the spring because he's continuously going to make plays. But man, who is this Torrey Davis kid, right? I think he's going to rise. I mean, he has a lot of people in front of him, but pay attention to him. I think he's going to be special, man. I think he has all the tools to be really, really great.
Yeah. And then Yaheem Riley, he's a local guy, right?
Yeah. Yep. Austin.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we pick him up, and then he's a guy you want to put in the oven, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty much every safety you want to put in the oven.
Yeah, you're right. Fair enough.
So, but also, he probably needs a little bit more size to him. Not a big guy. Kind of like JJR, and you can see the feel different type of player. I think Yaheem is a little bit better when the ball's in the air. I like and here's the perfect comp for him to me is Xavier Alford for Riley. He's got the range and the ball skills. He'll come down and hit you too, but needs some physical development. I didn't mean to miss my spot on Trey Davis. I'm getting texts about some stuff here. Trey Davis is one of the most explosive guys in that room already. He's got that 6'2", 190 frame that they seem to covet. Has that? I mean, he had over 1,200 yards receiving last year as a high school receiver. Now it's Colorado. All right, he's going up against snowboarders, so it's easy to get over on them. But he's just a really good all-around athlete. I think there's probably a little more similarities to Jelani McDonald than people realize, and he will hit. He will hit.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm gonna go back and watch this huddle. I remember doing it whenever we did the commitment video, but frankly, I've forgotten it.
His sophomore highlight, he gets called for targeting on a ball he actually intercepts. So he lights the guy up and steals it at the same time. He's a really good athlete, and it's already resonating within the Texas program. So you don't have to worry about, well, he was good going up against Colorado athletes. No, he's a really, really good athlete.
Yeah, baller.
Yeah. The only school I know is Cherry Creek in Colorado as like a main name.
Yeah. Well, that's where Gunnar Helm came from, and that is one of the school. That is the school.
Yeah, that is the school. All right. In closing, Eric, what do you say here?
Well, I mean, I love the top of the room. I love the depth. I love the return of Gideon. I love the addition and the return of Muschamp. I love the fact that the focus is from the back end. These guys are going to get a whole lot of attention. I love that the relationships between the coaches, between Muschamp and Gideon, are pre-existing. I like the relationships between Gideon and the players are pre-existing.
Yep.
It's just a whole lot of good stuff in there. Now, it's not going to be – I don't know if it's going to be the 2024 room necessarily, but I think it has a chance to be really, really, really good. Borderline elite, size, speed, hitting. There is playmaking there. Jelani does have – we saw it. Jelani has – if Jelani picked off 5 balls next year, it wouldn't shock me.
Well, a couple of them hit him straight in the chest. So if he can just look, too, he would have had more interceptions.
Yeah. So I see a lot of upside in the room. I see good depth, developmental pieces for the future. I just like it. It's a very healthy room, and it's great that Gideon's back.
What is Muschamp doing behind the scenes as the head coach of the defense? How are they doing their install before they can really, be heavy on the field with these guys?
Well, I mean, every week they layer in different aspects. One day that might focus on third down. The next day it'll be blitz, zero, different coverages, cover 3 with simulate. It's every day is something different that they're just going to layer in. But you can't go too fast because you do have a whole lot of new guys in the program overall. Tons of new additions. Right, there's like 41 new players on campus, I think, right now. So you can't go too fast. And also it's an initial install, so he doesn't have like the veterans to work with the younger guys like he will have in year 2. So he's not going blazing fast, but he is. I would say it's probably a little faster than I would have expected given all the newness.
I mean, it's a pretty in-depth scheme too. So at some point you got to kind of do it. Coach, how does that work? Are you basically just teaching your system from the ground up every year? So if you're a defensive coordinator, are you just doing the same thing? And then, so the guy that's a 5th year is still going through the same install as a freshman. How does that work?
Yeah, every year you start over. It goes from install 1A to 1B. Like you're going to learn the foundation and basics, right? Once you have that down, then you move on to 1B. So you got to get the principles down, right? Because it may change only because people got film on you. So you got to change some things up as a coach too, so people don't have a beat on you, right? And so you don't want to do the same things consistently, across the board. But you got your foundational piece. If that whatever that may be, they're going to learn that, install 1 and start over. And the thing about it is, when you get to the summer, you're going to do the exact same thing: install 1A, 1B, and keep going. So you just want to make sure everybody have it down. I know those guys are taking a ton of notes. I'm sure they got a big notepad or walking around, probably getting tired of writing, but because most kids type now, they get laptops. But I mean,
they're getting quizzed too. It's kind of like math. If you miss a day, you get behind. You don't understand instructions. They're getting quizzed, but like I said, dude, there's just so many new players. You don't have the veterans. Normally, if under a different circumstance, you would have a guy like Taft who would basically be a bona fide coach or a pseudo coach, helping all these younger guys with the install. And they don't really have that because it's new to everybody.
Yeah. And it's such a big scheme, man. Like, it's very intellectual. That's why I always joke about podcast Muschamp is like this bookish kind of soft-spoken guy. That Saban scheme, man, is an intellectual scheme. The amount of stuff they carry, but it makes sense too. So that's the big thing. They really do a good job of how they install and things building on each other. We see little pieces of that when Ian and Pack, we do our scheme show there. So I think it's a big thing. I don't know. I don't truly know what to expect in year one of the scheme. I think you have a lot of excited players, but I am really excited for year three, really up and moving with that level of schematic load. All right, everybody. Any final thoughts? Let me look through the comments here. Our man David Keith Williams.
Yeah, there's a good one. He says Richard Wesley physically looks like he could have been a true freshman in 2025. I think he's 16 right now, or maybe just recently turned 17. Zealous 6 reclassed, but I think he entered Texas at 18. That is true, except that is true. Hicks missed a senior year of high school football. There's your experience. It's not just about age. It's, you have less experience as a high school football player, and experience in high school does matter.
Yeah, playing matters without a doubt. All right, everyone, I want you to head over to Inside Texas and join for $1 in the dog days of February as we gear up for the spring, which will have a spring game at the end. We'd love to see you over there. New members, come join us. Everyone have an awesome Monday. We got some good stuff coming up for you today, so stay locked in with the channel. And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Later, y'all.